My best friend said, "You're too sensitive about everything," until her boyfriend did the same thing to her and she came crying to me. Brooke had been telling me this for months. When I got upset that my cousin Talia borrowed my car without asking and returned it with an empty tank, Brooke rolled her eyes. "It's just gas money. Why do you always make everything a big deal?" When I confronted my roommate Whitney for eating my labeled leftovers for the third time, Brooke sighed. "You're being dramatic. It's just food." The pattern was exhausting. Every boundary I tried to set, every frustration I voiced, Brooke dismissed as me being too sensitive, too emotional, too much. Meanwhile, her boyfriend Damien could do no wrong. When he showed up 2 hours late to her birthday dinner without calling, she made excuses. When he forgot their anniversary entirely, she laughed it off. "He's just not great with dates," she'd say. I bit my tongue, pointed out gently that maybe he should try harder. "You're projecting your trust issues onto my relationship," Brooke snapped. "Not everyone is as high maintenance as you." That stung, but I let it go because she was my best friend since freshman year. We'd survived bad roommates, worse boyfriends, and everything in between together. Then last Tuesday, Brooke called me at 11 p.m., sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. "Can you come over, please? I need you." I drove to her apartment in my pajamas, found her on the couch, mascara running down her face, surrounded by wadded tissues. "What happened?" I asked, sitting beside her. "Damien," she choked out. "I told him I needed him to be more present, that I felt like he didn't prioritize me, and he said," she dissolved into fresh sobs. "He said I was too sensitive about everything, that I make everything a bigger deal than it needs to be." The irony wasn't lost on me. I held her while she cried, stroking her back. Part of me wanted to say I told you so, but I didn't, because that's not what friends do. "I'm sorry," I said instead. "That must have really hurt." "It did," she whispered. "And the worst part? He said if I can't handle basic relationship stuff without getting emotional, maybe I'm not mature enough for this." I felt anger rising in my chest, not just at Damien, but at the months of dismissing my feelings while defending him. "That's manipulative," I said carefully. "Is it?" Brooke looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Or am I actually being too sensitive? This was my moment. I could unload everything I'd been holding back, tell her how it felt to have my boundaries dismissed while she excused Damien's behavior, but something stopped me. "You're not too sensitive," I said firmly. "You're having a normal reaction to being dismissed." Brooke nodded, wiping her eyes. "I think I need to break up with him." "I'll support whatever you decide," I told her. She squeezed my hand. "Thank you for being here. I know I haven't always," she trailed off. "I haven't been the best friend lately. We'll talk about that," I said. "But not tonight." She fell asleep on my shoulder around 1 a.m. I stayed awake, thinking about all the times she'd invalidated my feelings, about whether I should forgive her so easily, about what would happen when she woke up and had to face the reality of her relationship. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I opened it and my blood ran cold. The message contained a photo of Damien and Talia at a restaurant, holding hands across the table. The timestamp showed it was taken 3 hours ago, right when Brooke had called me crying. My stomach dropped as I realized what this meant. Why Damien had suddenly started calling Brooke too sensitive. Why Talia had been acting strange lately, avoiding my calls. I looked down at Brooke sleeping peacefully, unaware that everything was about to get so much worse. I couldn't fit what happens next in this short video. Watch the rest down below. I stared at that photo for maybe 10 minutes. Just stared. The restaurant was Antonio's, the expensive Italian place downtown where Damien had taken Brooke for their 6-month anniversary. Talia was wearing the necklace I'd given her last Christmas, the one she'd claimed to have lost. My hands shook as I zoomed in on the image. Their fingers were intertwined. Damien's thumb traced circles on her palm the same way he used to do with Brooke during movies. The intimacy was unmistakable. Another text came through. "Thought you should know. They've been together for 2 months. A friend. 2 months. I did the math. That meant it started right after Talia borrowed my car, the day she'd been so flustered when she returned it, making weird excuses about where she'd been. I'd assumed she was embarrassed about the empty tank. Brooke stirred against my shoulder. I quickly locked my phone screen. My mind raced through possibilities. Should I wake her now? Show her the photo while she was already devastated? Or wait until morning when she might be stronger? The decision was made for me when my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a text. It was a call from Talia. I carefully extracted myself from under Brooke, leaving her sleeping on the couch, and stepped into the kitchen to answer. "Hey," Talia said, her voice artificially bright. "You up?" "It's 1:30 in the morning," I said flatly. "What do you want?" Silence. Then, "I just wanted to talk. We haven't talked in forever. I wonder why that is." More silence. I heard background noise. A car door shutting. Damien's voice saying something I couldn't make out. "Are you with him right now?" I asked. "With who?" But her voice cracked. "Don't insult me, Talia. I know. I have photos." I heard her sharp intake of breath. "It's not what you think." "Really?" "Because it looks exactly like what I think. It looks like you're sleeping with my best friend's boyfriend." "Ex-boyfriend," she corrected. "They broke up tonight." "They didn't break up. He manipulated her into thinking she was the problem so he could be with you guilt-free." "That's not—" "Look, you don't understand. What Damien and I have, it's different. It's real." I laughed. Actually laughed. "That's what every affair partner thinks. Did he tell you that you're not like other girls? That Brooke doesn't understand him?" "He didn't have to tell me. I could see it. She was always nagging him, always demanding more attention. I'm not like that. You're 23 years old, Talia. He's 31, and 2 months ago, he was supposedly in love with Brooke. Do you really think you're special? Age doesn't matter when it's real love." "Jesus Christ." I pressed my palm against my forehead. "Does your mom know?" "Don't tell her," Talia said quickly. "Please. She wouldn't understand." "No. She probably wouldn't understand why her daughter became a homewrecker." "That's not fair. Brooke and Damien's relationship was already over. He told me they've been unhappy for months." "Is that what he told you?" I was pacing now, trying to keep my voice down. Because 2 weeks ago, Brooke was planning a surprise for their anniversary. She bought tickets to that comedy show he wanted to see. She was happy, Talia. She was in love with him. People can pretend. You're right. Damien's been pretending to be a decent human being this whole time. Talia's voice hardened. Why do you even care? You never liked him anyway. You were always trying to turn Brooke against him. I tried to point out that he treats her like garbage. Turns out I was right. Whatever. I didn't call to fight with you. Then why did you call? Another pause. I wanted you to hear it from me, before someone else told you. How considerate. Except I found out from a stranger who had the decency to send me proof. Who sent you photos? Her voice rose. Was it Kendall? That bitch has been trying to cause problems since... It doesn't matter who sent them. What matters is that they're real. I heard Damien in the background again. Is that her? Give me the phone. No, it's fine. I can handle... But there was rustling, and then Damien's voice filled my ear. Listen, what Talia and I have is none of your business. You made it my business when you lied to my best friend. I didn't lie. Brooke and I grew apart. These things happen. You're sleeping with her cousin behind her back, while telling her she's too sensitive for having normal emotional reactions. That's between me and Brooke. Except you involved Talia, my family. Talia's an adult. She can make her own choices. She's a kid who doesn't know any better. And you're a manipulative asshole who's using her the same way you used Brooke. Fuck you, he said calmly. You're just jealous because nobody wants you. You sit around judging everyone else's relationships while you can't maintain one yourself. The words hit harder than they should have, because there was a grain of truth there. I'd been single for 2 years. Every relationship I tried to build fell apart because I saw red flags everywhere. At least I'm not a cheater, I said. I didn't cheat. Brooke and I are done. You started this 2 months ago. Nothing physical happened until tonight. You're a liar. Believe what you want. He hung up. I stood in Brooke's kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. My whole body was shaking. I wanted to throw something, break something. Instead, I opened my messages and looked at the photo again. The unknown number had sent 2 more images while I was on the phone. One showed Damien and Talia kissing in a parking lot. The other was a screenshot of text messages between them, dated 6 weeks ago. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Brooke's working late again. We'll have the whole afternoon, followed by suggestive emojis. 6 weeks. Not 2 months like Talia claimed. 6 weeks of sneaking around. 6 weeks of lies. I forwarded all the photos to my own email. Then I screenshot the conversation with the unknown number. Evidence. Just in case. When I returned to the living room, Brooke was sitting up, rubbing her eyes. Hey, what time is it? Almost 2 a.m. now. God, I fell asleep on you. I'm sorry. She noticed my expression. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. This was it. The moment I'd have to tell her. I sat down beside her, phone in hand. Brooke, something happened, and I need you to prepare yourself. Her face went pale. Is someone hurt? Is it my mom? No, nothing like that. I took a breath. I got some photos. Of Damien. Photos? What kind of photos? I handed her my phone, watched her face as she processed what she was seeing. The color drained from her cheeks. Her hands started trembling. When was this taken? She whispered. Tonight. About 3 hours ago. She zoomed in on Talia's face. Is that? Yeah, it's Talia. Brooke scrolled to the next photo. The kissing one. Her breath came in short gasps. How long? At least 6 weeks. Maybe longer. She scrolled to the text messages. Read them, then read them again. When she looked up at me, her eyes were dry. Empty. Your cousin, she said flatly. I'm so sorry. Your cousin Talia. The one who borrowed your car. Yes. The one I defended. When you were upset about the gas money, I told you that you were being dramatic. I didn't say anything. Brooke stood up abruptly. I'm going to be sick. She made it to the bathroom just in time. I heard her retching. I filled a glass with water and waited outside the door. When she emerged 10 minutes later, her face was splotchy and red. She took the water, drank it all, then sat on the bathroom floor. I defended him to you, she said. Every single time you tried to tell me something was wrong, I defended him. You didn't know. I should have known. All those times he was late. All those excuses. And I believed him because the alternative was too painful. I slid down to sit beside her on the cold tile floor. I called you too sensitive, she continued. When you got upset about Talia taking your car. And the whole time she was probably going to meet him. Probably. God. Brooke let her head fall back against the wall. I'm such an idiot. You're not an idiot. You trusted someone you loved. I didn't just trust him. I chose him over you. Over our friendship. How many times did I dismiss your feelings because they conflicted with what I wanted to believe about Damien? I'd been keeping count. 17 times in the past 6 months. But I didn't say that. You were in love, I said instead. That's not an excuse. She looked at me. You deserved better. From both of us. Talia's not your responsibility. No, but I made it worse. I took his side when you were trying to set boundaries with her. I made you feel like you were the problem. We sat there in silence for a while. The bathroom light hummed overhead. Outside, a car alarm went off, then stopped. I want to confront them, Brooke said finally. Tonight? No, I want to plan it. I want to make sure I say everything I need to say, and I want you there. Are you sure? You're the only person I trust right now. She grabbed my hand. Will you help me? I squeezed back. Of course. We spent the next hour strategizing. Brooke wanted to gather more evidence first. See how deep the lies went. I suggested checking Damien's location history on the app they shared, his credit card statements if she still had access, his social media activity. He's been tagging himself at the gym a lot lately, Brooke said, pulling up his Instagram. Wednesday nights, specifically. I checked the photos I'd received. The restaurant photo is from a Wednesday. So he's been lying about the gym. She scrolled back through weeks of posts. Every Wednesday for the past 2 months. That's when it started. Brooke's jaw clenched. And I never questioned it. He said he was trying to get in shape and I thought it was sweet. She went to their shared location app next. Damien's phone showed he was currently at his apartment, but when she checked the history, Wednesday nights showed him at various locations: restaurants, a movie theater, even a hotel. A hotel, Brooke breathed. They went to a hotel. I'm sorry, she shook her head. Don't apologize. You didn't do this. She pulled up his credit card next. They'd shared an account for date nights, a joint card they both could use. The statement loaded. There were charges she didn't recognize. Flowers from a boutique she'd never heard of. Dinner at places they'd never gone together. A jewelry purchase for $340. He bought her jewelry, Brooke said, her voice dead, with our card. I looked at the date. 2 weeks ago. I helped pay for that, Brooke continued. I put money into that account, and he used it to buy gifts for her. The evidence kept piling up. Late-night Uber rides, hotel charges, restaurant bills for 2 on nights when Damien had claimed to be working late or at the gym. By 4 a.m., we had a comprehensive timeline. The affair had started 8 weeks ago, not 6 like Talia claimed. It began 3 days after Talia had attended Brooke's birthday party, the same party where Damien had shown up 2 hours late. He was with her that night, Brooke realized. At my own birthday. He kept me waiting while he was with her. I wanted to say something comforting, but what could I say? Every new detail made it worse. Brooke screenshot everything, sent copies to her email and mine. Then she deleted the evidence from her phone. I don't want to see it again until I'm ready, she said. What's the plan? I need to talk to my mom first. Get her perspective, then I'm going to confront them. Both of them. Together. When? This weekend. There's a family dinner at your aunt's house. Talia will be there. I'd forgotten about that. My Aunt Gloria hosted monthly dinners for the family. It was tradition, and skipping without a good excuse was considered rude. You want to do it there? In front of everyone? Why not? They humiliated me in private. I'm returning the favor in public. There was something cold in her voice. Something I'd never heard before. The heartbroken girl from earlier was gone. In her place was someone calculating. Someone angry. Okay, I said. I'll be there. We spent the rest of the night at her apartment. Brooke didn't want to be alone, and I didn't want to leave her. We dozed off around 5:20 a.m., her in her bed, me on the floor beside her. My phone woke me 3 hours later. Text from my mom. Don't forget dinner Sunday, 6:00 p.m. Aunt Gloria is making her famous lasagna. Perfect timing. I showed Brooke the message. She smiled grimly. Tell her we'll both be there. The next 2 days passed in a strange fog. Brooke went to work, functioned normally, even responded to Damien's texts with short, neutral replies. She didn't let on that anything was wrong. I want him comfortable, she explained, unsuspecting. Meanwhile, I dealt with Talia. She'd been texting me nonstop. Can we talk? Please don't be mad. I really care about him. I ignored all of it. On Saturday, she called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. On the 4th attempt, I answered. What? Why won't you talk to me? She sounded genuinely hurt, as if she were the victim here. What exactly did you expect, Talia? That I'd congratulate you? I expected you to at least hear me out. I've heard enough. You're sleeping with your cousin's boyfriend. There's nothing else to understand. Ex-boyfriend. They broke up. Because of you. Because they weren't right for each other. I'm not the villain here. You're exactly the villain. You knew what you were doing. You went to her birthday party and smiled in her face while planning to steal her boyfriend. I didn't steal anyone. Damien made his own choice. He chose to cheat. It's not cheating if... Save it. I don't want to hear your justifications. Silence. Then, are you going to tell people? Why? You afraid of what they'll think? I'm afraid of you ruining this for me. For us. Damien and I are happy. Good for you. I hope it's worth it. It is. And eventually, everyone will understand. Even Brooke. I hung up. Blocked her number. Then I screenshot the call log and sent it to Brooke. She replied immediately. She's delusional. Completely. Tomorrow night is going to be therapeutic. I wasn't sure therapeutic was the right word, but I understood the sentiment. Sunday arrived. I picked Brooke up at 5:30. She'd dressed carefully. Nice jeans, a fitted black sweater, subtle makeup. She looked put together, calm. Only the white knuckles gripping her purse betrayed her nerves. You ready? I asked. I've been ready for days. We drove to Aunt Gloria's in silence. The house was already full when we arrived. My mom was in the kitchen helping with dinner. My dad and uncle were watching football in the living room. Cousins and siblings filled the spaces in between. And there, sitting on the couch like she belonged, was Talia. She saw us walk in. Her face went pale. She stood up quickly, nearly knocking over her drink. Hey, she said weakly. Brooke smiled. Actually smiled. Hi, Talia. Long time no see. Yeah, I've been busy. I bet. Brooke's smile didn't waver. We need to talk. Later. After dinner. Talia glanced toward the door, like she was considering bolting. I don't think that's a good idea. I insist. My Aunt Gloria swept in from the kitchen. Girls, so good to see you both. Brooke, honey, I didn't know you were coming. Last-minute decision, Brooke said warmly. I hope it's okay. Of course. You're always welcome. Now come, help me set the table. We followed her into the dining room. Talia stayed frozen on the couch, looking like she might throw up. Dinner was painful. 45 minutes of forced conversation while Brooke and I waited. Talia barely touched her food. She kept checking her phone under the table. Expecting a call? My mom asked. Just some friends, Talia mumbled. On a Sunday night? Must be important. It's nothing. Brooke caught my eye across the table. Her expression was serene. She was enjoying this, watching Talia squirm. After dessert, as people started clearing plates, Brooke stood. Actually, before everyone disperses, I have something I'd like to share. The room went quiet. All eyes turned to her. These past few weeks have been really illuminating, Brooke continued. I've learned a lot about who my real friends are and who I can trust. Talia's face had gone from pale to green. I've also learned some interesting things about my relationship. My ex-relationship, I should say. Brooke, Talia started. Maybe we should... No, I think everyone should hear this. Brooke pulled out her phone. See, I found out my boyfriend of 18 months has been cheating on me for 8 weeks. Gasps around the table. My mom's hand flew to her mouth. And the really special part? He's been cheating with someone in this room. All heads swiveled, looking around, searching for the culprit. Brooke's eyes locked on Talia. Want to tell them, or should I? Talia stood so abruptly her chair fell backward. This is not the time or place. Really? Because you had no problem conducting your affair at my birthday party, in my apartment while I was at work, at restaurants where my friends might see you, so I'd say a family dinner is perfectly appropriate. You don't understand, Talia said desperately. It's not what you think. I have photos, Brooke said calmly, and text messages, and credit card statements. Would you like me to share them? My uncle stood up. What's going on here? Your daughter has been sleeping with Brooke's boyfriend, I said flatly. For 2 months. The room exploded. Everyone talking at once. My Aunt Gloria clutching her pearls. My mom demanding to know if it was true. My dad looking confused. Talia burst into tears. He told me they were broken up. He said it was over. We had dinner plans last week, Brooke said. We were discussing moving in together. Does that sound broken up to you? He lied to me. He lied to both of us. But you knew what you were doing. You came to my home, met my friends, smiled to my face, all while screwing my boyfriend behind my back. I'm sorry. Talia was sobbing now. I'm sorry, okay? I made a mistake. You made a choice. Multiple choices. Every time you answered his call. Every time you met him somewhere. Every time you lied to cover it up. My Aunt Gloria had found her voice. Talia Marie, is this true? Talia just cried harder. I asked you a question. Yes. Okay, yes. But he said he loved me. He said we were going to be together. He's 8 years older than you, my uncle said. And he was in a relationship. Age doesn't matter when it's real love, Talia protested. I nearly laughed. She'd used the exact same line on me. Real love doesn't involve lying and sneaking around, my mom said sharply. Real love doesn't destroy other relationships. You don't understand, Talia wailed. None of you understand. Then explain it to us, Brooke said. Her voice was still calm, still controlled. Explain how you justified betraying your own family. She's not my family, Talia exploded. She's just someone who's been around forever. Someone who acts like she's better than everyone else. The room went silent. Wow, Brooke said softly. Tell me how you really feel. You want the truth? Fine. I'm sick of you. Sick of everyone acting like you're so perfect, like your relationship was so great. It wasn't. Damien was miserable with you. Is that what he told you? Yes. And it's true. You're clingy and needy and you smother people. I'm nothing like you. That's why he chose me. Brooke pulled out her phone again, pulled up a text message. This is from Damien, sent 3 days ago. Can't wait to see you tonight, babe. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I love you. She looked up. He sent that to me while he was sleeping with you. Talia's face crumpled. He's playing both of us. Brooke continued, telling me I'm the best while telling you I'm the worst. He's a liar, a cheater, and a manipulator. And you fell for it. He loves me, Talia insisted weakly. He doesn't love anyone but himself. Brooke pocketed her phone. But hey, maybe you're special. Maybe you're the one woman who can change him. Good luck with that. She turned to leave. I followed. Behind us, chaos erupted again. My aunt screaming at Talia. My uncle demanding answers. My mom trying to mediate. We made it to the car before Brooke broke down. She didn't cry. She just shook, her whole body trembling with suppressed rage and hurt. You did good, I said. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's normal. Everyone saw me humiliated. Everyone saw you stand up for yourself. There's a difference. She leaned her head against the window. What now? Now you heal, and I'll be here for all of it. My phone started ringing. My mom. I ignored it. It rang again. My aunt. Ignored. Then my uncle. Then Talia. They're going to want explanations, Brooke said. They can wait. We drove to my apartment, ordered pizza, watched terrible reality TV. Around midnight, Brooke's phone lit up. A text from Damien. What the fuck did you do? Talia's hysterical. Her family is going insane. Did you seriously air our private business in public? Brooke showed me. I read it. Felt anger surge through me. Want me to respond? I asked. What would you say? I took her phone, typed, private business? You mean the affair you conducted with her cousin? That private business? Or the lies you told both of us? Be specific. Sent. He responded immediately. You had no right. Brooke grabbed the phone, typed, I had every right. You betrayed me, with my family, in my home, using money from our joint account. So yes, I told people, and I have zero regrets. You're going to regret this. Is that a threat? It's a fact. You just made yourself look unstable. I made you look like the cheater you are. If you don't like it, maybe don't cheat next time. I'm done with you. You and your drama. Thank God Talia showed me what I was missing. Enjoy her. She's all yours. Brooke blocked him. Then she looked at me. That felt good. It looked good from here. She smiled. Actually smiled. I think I'm going to be okay. I know you are. We fell asleep on my couch. When I woke up the next morning, Brooke was already up, making coffee in my kitchen. I'm going back to his place today, she announced. Getting my stuff. Want backup? Absolutely. We showed up at Damien's apartment at 10 a.m. His car was in the lot. So was another vehicle I recognized. Talia's. She's here, Brooke said flatly. Want to leave? No, I want my things. We went up. Brooke used her key. The apartment was quiet. Then we heard it. Giggling from the bedroom. Female laughter. Brooke walked straight to the bedroom door. Opened it without knocking. Damien and Talia were in bed, scrambling to cover themselves. Damien's face went from shocked to angry in seconds. What the hell? You can't just barge in here? It's still my apartment, Brooke said calmly. My name is on the lease. Remember? I want you out. Now. I'm getting my things. Then I'm calling the landlord to have my name removed from the lease, which means you'll need to qualify for this place on your own. Good luck with that on a bartender's salary. Damien's face went red. You vindictive bitch. I'm not vindictive. I'm practical. Why would I pay rent somewhere I don't live? Talia had pulled the sheet up to her chin. She looked mortified. Brooke, I'm sorry. I never meant. Save it. Brooke turned to me. Help me pack? We spent the next hour gathering Brooke's belongings. Clothes, books, toiletries, photos she'd framed, kitchen items she'd bought. We worked methodically while Damien and Talia stayed in the bedroom, arguing in hushed voices. As we loaded the last box into my car, Damien appeared. I hope you're happy. I'm getting there, Brooke said. You ruined everything. Talia's family won't talk to her. Her mom is threatening to cut her off, all because you couldn't handle a breakup like an adult. I handled it exactly as it deserved. We're in love. Can't you just be happy for us? Brooke laughed. Be happy that you cheated on me? Be happy that she betrayed her family? No, Damien. I can't be happy about that. You're just bitter. I'm just honest. There's a difference. He grabbed her arm, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop her. If you think you're better off without me, I stepped between them. Let her go. Mind your own business. She is my business. Now let go. He released Brooke, but his eyes stayed on me. You did this. You turned her against me. I didn't have to. You did that yourself. You poisoned her mind from day one, convinced her I wasn't good enough. You proved that on your own. His jaw clenched. For a second, I thought he might actually hit me, but Talia appeared in the doorway. Damien, let it go. They're leaving. He turned away, walked back inside, slammed the door. Talia stayed on the steps. Brooke, wait. Brooke paused, car door open. I really am sorry, Talia said. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know. You're sorry you got caught. Brooke replied. Not sorry you did it. That's not true. If you were really sorry, you wouldn't be here right now, in his bed, continuing the relationship that destroyed ours. Talia opened her mouth, closed it. She had no defense. Tell yourself whatever you need to sleep at night, Brooke said. But don't pretend this is something it's not. You made your choice. Now live with it. We drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw Talia standing on the steps watching us go. You okay? I asked. Yeah, I am. Brooke stared out the window. That's the weird part. I thought I'd be devastated, but I just feel free. That's good. He tried to make me feel crazy, like I was overreacting to everything, but I wasn't. My instincts were right. They usually are. We drove in silence for a while. Then Brooke said, I owe you an apology. You already apologized. No, I need to say this properly. She turned to face me. I dismissed your feelings for months, made you question yourself, took his side over yours, and I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. Thank you. You tried to warn me. You saw what he was before I did, and instead of listening, I pushed you away. You were in love. It's hard to see clearly when you're in love. That's still not an excuse. You deserved better from me. You're here now. That's what matters. She squeezed my hand. I'm going to be a better friend. I promise. Over the next few weeks, Brooke proved it. When I got frustrated with Whitney eating my food again, Brooke backed me up, helped me have a serious conversation about boundaries. When my boss made a passive-aggressive comment about my work, Brooke validated my feelings instead of telling me I was overreacting. And slowly, our friendship started to heal. Meanwhile, the fallout from Sunday dinner continued. Talia's parents had grounded her. At 23, they'd threatened to stop paying her car insurance and phone bill unless she ended things with Damien. She refused. Instead, she moved in with him, posted about it on Instagram. Sometimes the people who judge you the most are the ones who don't understand real love. Building a life with my person. The comments were brutal. Didn't you steal him from your cousin? How romantic. Nothing says true love like cheating. Girl, you're 23. This won't end well. I screenshotted some of them, sent them to Brooke. She laughed. Let her find out the hard way. Think he'll cheat on her too? Absolutely. Give it 6 months. She was wrong. It took 3. I got the call from a mutual friend, Kendall, who'd been the one to send me the original photos. You're not going to believe this. Try me. Damien's been messaging girls on dating apps while living with Talia. You're kidding. I have screenshots. Want me to send them? Obviously. The photos showed Damien's profile on 3 different apps. Single and ready to mingle. Just moved to town and looking to meet new people. Casual drinks? Let's see where it goes. His profile photos were recent, taken in the apartment he shared with Talia. Has anyone told her? I asked. I don't know. I figured you'd want to know first. I thanked her, hung up, stared at my phone. Part of me wanted to tell Talia, warn her. But another part remembered how she'd dismissed my concerns, how she'd claimed their love was different, special. I called Brooke, sent her the screenshots. Wow, she said. That was fast. What do you think? I think she made her bed. Should we tell her? Long pause. Forward everything to me. I'll handle it. 2 hours later, Brooke texted. Done. What did you do? Sent the screenshots to Talia, along with a message. He's doing to you exactly what he did to me. But hey, maybe you're special. I laughed despite myself. Talia didn't respond to Brooke, but she must have confronted Damien because by that evening, her Instagram had been scrubbed of all couple photos. The bio no longer mentioned being in a relationship. The next morning, she posted a long caption. Sometimes we invest in people who don't deserve us. Sometimes we ignore red flags because we want to believe in love. I'm learning that actions matter more than words, and that being alone is better than being with someone who makes you feel alone. No mention of Damien, no apology to Brooke, just vague wisdom that made her sound like the victim. Comments poured in. You deserve better, queen. His loss. Men ain't shit. She's actually getting sympathy, I told Brooke. Of course she is. People love a redemption arc. Doesn't it bother you? Not really. I know the truth. That's enough. But it bothered me. The way Talia had rewritten the narrative, made herself the wounded party, erased her role in the betrayal. 2 weeks later, Talia posted a photo at a coffee shop. New beginnings. Taking time to find myself. She looked thinner, tired, but still trying to project confidence. I showed Brooke. She's playing the heartbreak card. Let her. The people who matter know what really happened. It's just frustrating. Of course it is. But what can we do? Force her to take accountability? People believe what they want to believe. She was right. Still, it rankled. Then something unexpected happened. I got a message request on Instagram from Damien. We need to talk. I stared at it. Considered blocking him, but curiosity won. About what? About the lies people are spreading about me. What lies? Talia's telling everyone I was manipulating her, using her. None of it's true. Interesting, because those screenshots of you on dating apps looked pretty real. Those were old profiles. I forgot to delete them. They had recent photos. Photoshopped. People are trying to make me look bad. You made yourself look bad when you cheated. I didn't cheat. Brooke and I were basically over. That's not what your text messages showed. Silence. Then, look. I'm not proud of how things went down, but I'm not the villain everyone's making me out to be. Then what are you? Someone who fell in love at the wrong time. Someone who made mistakes but had good intentions. I almost laughed. Good intentions? You gaslighted Brooke for weeks. Told her she was too sensitive when she had legitimate concerns. Also, you could justify your affair. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. I have the receipts. Everyone's so quick to judge. No one wants to understand that relationships are complicated. They're not that complicated. You don't cheat. It's pretty simple. Whatever. I didn't message you to argue. I messaged to ask you to talk to Brooke. Tell her to stop turning people against me. Brooke hasn't said anything to anyone except the truth. She's making me look like a monster. Again, you did that yourself. I loved her. I really did. Things just got complicated. Because you made them complicated. He stopped responding. I blocked him. Told Brooke about the conversation. She rolled her eyes. He's rewriting history in his own mind. Soon he'll actually believe he's the victim. How are you so calm about all this? Because I'm done caring. He's not worth my energy anymore. And she meant it. Over the following months, Brooke threw herself into her own life. She got a promotion at work, started going to therapy to work through the betrayal, joined a book club, and made new friends. I'm better off, she told me one night over wine. Genuinely better off. I thought he was my future. But he was just a lesson. What did you learn? That I ignored my own instincts because I wanted to believe in something. That I prioritized his comfort over my own boundaries. And that I dismissed people who actually cared about me, like you, because it was easier than facing the truth. You didn't know. I did know. I just didn't want to admit it. She looked at me. You told me he was dismissive, that he didn't value my time. You pointed out every red flag, and I called you jealous. I forgave you for that. I know. But I need to forgive myself for it too. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset from my balcony. Thank you, Brooke said quietly. For what? For not saying, I told you so. For being there even after I treated you like crap. For showing me what real friendship looks like. That's what friends do. Not all of them. She paused. Talia and I used to be close, when we were kids, and she threw that away for a guy who didn't even respect her. Some people have to learn the hard way. I guess I did too. Just took me less time to figure it out. Months passed. Life moved on. Brooke started dating again, carefully, with clear boundaries. I worked on my own issues, the ones Damien had hit on. My tendency to see red flags everywhere. My fear of vulnerability. We were stronger for it, both of us. Then, almost exactly 6 months after the dinner confrontation, my Aunt Gloria called. I need to tell you something, she said, about Talia. My stomach dropped. Is she okay? Physically, yes. But, she sighed. She's been calling me every night, crying. She wants to come home. What happened? That boy, Damien. He's been horrible to her. Controlling. Manipulative. She said he isolates her from friends. Gets angry when she doesn't text back immediately. Monitors her phone. I closed my eyes. Of course he did. She wants to leave him, my aunt continued. But she's scared. And she's embarrassed. After everything that happened, after defending him to all of us, she doesn't know how to admit she was wrong. What do you want from me? I want you to talk to her. You and Brooke. You both got out of bad situations. Maybe you can help her find the courage. I didn't want to. Part of me felt like Talia deserved to figure this out on her own. She'd made her choice. Now she had to live with the consequences. But another part remembered being 23, making mistakes, needing grace. Let me talk to Brooke, I said. See what she thinks? My aunt thanked me profusely, promised to have Talia call. I hung up and immediately called Brooke. Explained the situation. Let me get this straight, Brooke said slowly. Talia, who stole my boyfriend, who betrayed her family, who made me feel crazy for having boundaries, she now wants our help because that same boyfriend is treating her exactly how we said he would? Yes. And your aunt thinks we should help her? She's hoping we will. Long silence. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to tell her she made her bed, but part of me feels bad. She's still family, and she's in a potentially dangerous situation. She is, Brooke agreed. But she's also an adult who made informed choices. We told her what he was like. She called us jealous and bitter. I know. More silent. Then Brooke sighed. Okay, I'll talk to her. Really? Not because I forgive her. Not because I think she deserves it. But because nobody deserves to be in an abusive relationship. And if we can help her get out, we should. You're a better person than me. I'm really not. I just know what it's like to be manipulated by him, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. We set up a meeting. Neutral territory. A coffee shop neither of us frequented. Talia arrived 20 minutes early looking nervous. She'd changed. Lost weight she couldn't afford to lose. Dark circles under her eyes. Her usual confidence gone. Thank you for meeting me, she said quietly when we arrived. Brooke sat across from her. I took the seat beside Brooke. United front. Your mom said you wanted to talk, I said. Talia nodded. Stared at her untouched coffee. I know you hate me. We don't hate you, Brooke said. We're disappointed. There's a difference. I'm sorry for everything. I know it doesn't mean much now, but I need you to know. What changed? I asked. Everything. Talia's voice cracked. He's not who I thought he was. He's not who he pretended to be. He's exactly who we told you he was, Brooke said. Not unkindly, but firmly. I know, okay? I was stupid. and young, and I wanted to believe I was special. You are special, I said. Just not to him. Talia started crying, not the dramatic sobbing from the dinner. Real, painful tears. He checks my phone every night, reads all my messages, got angry when I went to lunch with a friend from work because I didn't ask permission first. Brooke and I exchanged glances. He tells me I'm lucky he stayed with me after everyone found out, that no one else would want me now. She wiped her eyes. And maybe he's right. He's not, Brooke said firmly. That's what manipulators do. They break you down so you think you need them. I'm so ashamed, Talia whispered. Everyone was right. My parents, my friends, you, and I defended him anyway. Why are you still with him? I asked. I'm scared. Every time I try to leave, he either gets angry or cries. Says he'll change. Promises it'll be different. And I believe him because I want to believe him. That's the cycle, Brooke said. I know. I lived it too. Talia looked up, surprised. You did? He did the same things to me. Not as extreme, but the pattern was there, making me feel like my concerns were invalid, like I was the problem. I thought you were just dramatic. That's what he told me. Of course he did. That's part of the manipulation. Make the new partner think the old partner was crazy. Make you think you're different. Better. But I'm not. Fresh tears. I'm exactly the same. He treats me the same way he treated you. I just couldn't see it before. We sat there while Talia cried. Brooke pushed a napkin across the table, waited for her to compose herself. Do you want to leave him? Brooke finally asked. Talia nodded. But I don't know how. We live together. All my stuff is there, and I'm scared of what he'll do. You need a plan, I said. A safety plan. We spent the next 2 hours helping her strategize. When to leave, how to pack, where to go, who to call for help. Brooke even offered to be there, to help move her things while Damien was at work. You'd do that? Talia asked. After everything? I wouldn't do it for you, Brooke said honestly. I'd do it because no woman should have to escape an abusive relationship alone. Talia broke down again. I'm so sorry. I know I keep saying it, but I am. I destroyed your relation, hurt my family. And for what? For this? You made a mistake, I said. A big one. But everyone deserves a second chance. I don't deserve your help. Maybe not, Brooke agreed. But you're getting it anyway. We finalized the plan. The following Tuesday, while Damien was at his bartending shift, Brooke and I would help Talia pack her essentials. She'd stay with her parents temporarily, then figure out her next steps. Don't tell him you're leaving, Brooke warned. Just go. If you give him warning, he'll manipulate you into staying. What if he tries to find me? Block him everywhere. Change your number if you have to. Your parents can deal with any belongings you leave behind. Talia nodded, taking notes on her phone. When we finally left the coffee shop 3 hours later, she hugged us both. Thank you. Really, I don't deserve this, but thank you. As we walked to our cars, Brooke said, I can't believe we just did that. Having regrets? No, it's just surreal. 6 months ago, she was the villain of my story. Now she's just another person he damaged. Think she'll actually go through with it? I hope so. But who knows? She might change her mind. She didn't. Tuesday arrived and Talia texted right on schedule. He just left for work. I'm ready. We met her at the apartment. The same apartment I'd helped Brooke move out of months earlier. Same layout, same furniture, different victim. Talia had prepared, boxes stacked, bags packed. She moved efficiently, like she'd been planning this for weeks. Just the essentials, she kept saying. I don't want anything that reminds me of him. We loaded my car in under an hour. As we did a final sweep, I noticed photos on the refrigerator. Damien and Talia smiling, happy, the same way he'd looked with Brooke. Leave them, Talia said, following my gaze. Let him remember what he lost. We drove her to her parents' house. Her mom was waiting on the porch, crying with relief. Her dad stood behind her, jaw clenched. As Talia hugged her parents, her dad approached us. Thank you for helping her, for being bigger people than you needed to be. Nobody deserves what Damien does to people, Brooke said simply. Inside, Talia's room looked exactly as she'd left it months earlier. Posters from high school, trophies from soccer, a life she'd abandoned for a man who didn't value her. I'll be okay, she told us as we said goodbye. I have to be. We drove away as the sun set, orange and pink streaking across the sky. That felt good, Brooke said. Helping her? Proving I'm not who Damien said I was. He called me vindictive, bitter, too sensitive. But I just helped the woman who betrayed me escape the same situation I escaped. That's not bitter. That's growth. You're pretty incredible, you know that? She smiled. We both are. Over the next few weeks, Talia stayed quiet. No social media posts, no public statements, just silence as she healed. Then, 3 weeks after her escape, she posted something. A photo of her and her mom, hiking. The caption read, "Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. Thank you to everyone who helped me find my way back, especially to those I didn't deserve help from. You know who you are." The comments were supportive. Proud of you. Growth looks good on you. Sometimes we have to lose ourselves to find ourselves. Brooke showed me. Think that's about us? Probably. Weird, right? Being thanked for helping someone who hurt us. Weird, but good. Another month passed. Brooke went on a third date with a guy named Connor who actually showed up on time and remembered her coffee order. I started therapy to work on my trust issues. We had weekly dinners, just the two of us, rebuilding what had been damaged. Then Talia called me. Not texted. Actually called. Hey, she said nervously. I know this is random, but I wanted to ask if you and Brooke wanted to get coffee sometime. Not to talk about Damien or anything. Just to, I don't know, start over? I didn't answer immediately. It's okay if you don't want to, she rushed on. I understand. I just thought maybe, let me ask Brooke, I interrupted. I'll let you know. I presented it to Brooke that evening. Her initial reaction was skeptical. Start over? Like pretend nothing happened? I think she means move forward. Not forget, but forgive. I don't know if I can do that. You don't have to. I just wanted to tell you she asked. Brooke thought about it for several days. Finally, she said, okay, one coffee, but I'm not promising anything beyond that. We met the following week. Same coffee shop as before. Talia brought a letter. I wrote everything down, she explained, because I knew I'd forget things or get too emotional. So please, just let me read this. Then we can talk. Brooke nodded. Talia unfolded the paper. Her hands shook. Dear Brooke and cousin, I'm not going to ask you to forgive me because I'm not sure I deserve forgiveness. What I did was inexcusable. I knew you were dating Damien. I knew I was betraying family. I knew I was being selfish. But I did it anyway because I wanted to believe I was special, that what we had was different from what you had with him. I was wrong. About everything. Damien told me you were controlling, that you made him feel trapped, that I was setting him free. I believed him because it made me feel less guilty about what we were doing. But the truth is, you weren't any of those things. You were just dating someone who didn't deserve you. And I was too blinded by my own ego to see that I was doing the exact same thing you'd done, falling for his lies, making excuses for his behavior, ignoring red flags because I didn't want to admit I'd made a mistake. When I moved in with him, I thought I'd won some prize. But all I won was a front row seat to the same manipulation you'd experienced. He isolated me from my friends, controlled my money, made me feel like I was lucky he stayed with me after I'd ruined his relationship with you. He turned me into someone I didn't recognize. Someone small and scared and constantly apologizing for existing. You both showed me what real friendship looks like. When I had nowhere to turn, when I'd burned every bridge, when I didn't deserve anyone's kindness, you helped me anyway. Not because you liked me, not because you'd forgiven me, but because it was the right thing to do. I'm working on becoming someone worthy of that kindness. I'm in therapy. I'm rebuilding relationships with my family. I'm learning to trust my own judgment again. I don't expect us to be friends. I don't even expect you to like me, but I wanted you to know that you saved my life, both of you. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to pay that forward. She folded the letter, looked up with tears in her eyes. Silence settled over the table. Finally, Brooke spoke. Thank you for saying all that, for owning your part in what happened. Talia nodded, wiping her eyes. I'm not ready to be friends, Brooke continued. I might never be ready for that, but I can be civil. We can be cordial at family events. We can exist in the same space without it being awful. That's more than I deserve, probably, but it's what I'm offering. I added, and if you ever need help again, real help, not Damien-related drama, you can call. I might not answer right away, but I won't ignore you. Talia's face crumpled with relief. That's all I can ask for. We finished our coffee, talked about safer things, work, family, the weather. It was awkward and uncomfortable, but it was a start. As we left, Talia hugged us both. I'm going to do better, I promise. In the car, Brooke said, that was harder than I thought it would be. You did good, though. I don't feel good. I feel confused. Like, I want to hate her. It would be easier to hate her, but I can't anymore. She's just another person he damaged. That's empathy. It's a good thing. It's exhausting. Also true. We drove in silence. Then Brooke's phone rang. Connor. She answered on speaker. Hey, are we still on for tonight? Brooke smiled. A real smile. Absolutely. Pick me up at 7? Can't wait. See you then. She hung up. Looked at me. I'm happy. Actually happy. For the first time in months, I'm excited about my life. You deserve that. So do you. When are you going to start dating again? When I'm ready. Fair enough. We pulled up to her place. She grabbed her purse but paused before getting out. Thank you, she said, for everything. For calling me out when I was dismissing your feelings, for being there when Damien showed his true colors, for helping me see that I deserved better. You would have figured it out eventually. Maybe. But it would have taken longer without you. She squeezed my hand. You're the best friend anyone could ask for. Right back at you. She went inside to get ready for her date. I drove home thinking about the past year, about betrayal and forgiveness, about boundaries and growth, about the difference between being too sensitive and standing up for yourself. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. I froze. Last time I got a text from an unknown number, it was photos of Damien and Talia. I opened it hesitantly. Hi, this is Kendall, the one who sent you those photos. Just wanted to check in. I heard Talia left Damien. Is she okay? I relaxed. Replied, she's safe, with her family. Thanks for checking. Good. He's already on the apps again, looking for his next victim. Of course he was. Thanks for the heads up. Anytime. We gotta look out for each other. I saved her number. She was right. We did need to look out for each other. 6 months later, Brooke and Connor were talking about moving in together. Talia had enrolled in community college and was studying social work, hoping to help other women escape abusive relationships. I'd gone on a few dates with someone from my gym. Nothing serious yet, but promising. At Thanksgiving, we all ended up at Aunt Gloria's again. The first family gathering since the infamous dinner. Talia arrived late, nervous, but she'd brought homemade pie, offered to help in the kitchen, kept her head down. Brooke and I were civil, polite. We'd never be close. The betrayal ran too deep for that. But we could coexist. We could be family. Over dinner, my uncle made a toast. To second chances, to family, to forgiveness. Everyone raised their glasses, including me and Brooke, including Talia. As I sipped my wine, I caught Brooke's eye across the table. She smiled. That same real smile she'd been wearing more often lately. We'd survived. Both of us. Stronger for it. Later, as people were clearing plates, Talia approached us carefully. Can I talk to you both? Just for a minute? We followed her to the back porch. The night air was cold, November winds cutting through our clothes. I wanted to tell you something, Talia began. Damien reached out last week. My stomach dropped. What did he want? To get back together. He said he made a mistake, that he missed me, that we were meant to be together. What did you say? Brooke asked. Talia smiled. Actually smiled. I told him I wasn't interested, that I'd learned my lesson, and then I blocked him. Good for you, I said. I also wanted you both to know. I told my story to a domestic violence support group. about how he manipulated me, isolated me, made me believe I was the problem. And 3 women came up to me afterward with similar stories about him. Brooke's eyes widened. 3? At least, probably more. He has a pattern. Find someone young and insecure, love bomb them, then slowly break them down. I was just another name on a long list. Did you report it? I asked. There's nothing to report legally. He never hit me, never threatened me outright, just made my life a psychological nightmare. But I did warn those women, told them to stay away from him. That took guts, Brooke said. I learned from the best. Talia looked at us. You showed me what it means to help people even when they don't deserve it, to be strong enough to do the right thing. I'm trying to pay that forward. Brooke nodded slowly. Keep doing that. Help people. Warn people. Don't let him create more victims. I won't. I promise. We stood there in the cold for another minute. Then Talia said, I should get back inside, but thank you for tonight, for not making this weird. We're not friends, Brooke said, but we're not enemies either. That's enough. That's more than enough. Talia went back inside. Brooke and I stayed on the porch. She's different, I observed. People can change when they want to, when they put in the work. Do you forgive her? Brooke thought about it. I'm working on it. Some days are easier than others, but I think eventually, yeah, I'll forgive her. Not because she deserves it, but because holding on to anger only hurts me. That's very mature of you. Therapy helps, she laughed. Also, being genuinely happy makes it easier to let go of the past. Connor's that great. Connor's amazing. But it's not just him. It's everything. My job, my friendships, my life. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm happy for you. Your turn next. Maybe. We'll see. We went back inside, rejoined the party, ate pie, laughed with family, acted normal, because that's what we were now. Normal, healed, moving forward. As I drove home that night, I thought about everything that had happened. About Brooke calling me too sensitive while defending Damien, about the dramatic confrontation at dinner, about helping Talia escape, about all of us learning and growing and becoming better versions of ourselves. It wasn't the ending I'd expected a year ago, but it was the right one. My phone buzzed. Text from Brooke. Thank you for being stubborn about boundaries, for not letting me dismiss your feeling, for being right even when I didn't want to hear it. Love you. I smiled. Texted back. Love you too. Now go enjoy your night with Connor. Already am. He made dinner. Actual dinner. Like with vegetables and everything. Keeper? Absolutely. I pulled into my parking spot. Sat in the car for a minute, letting the heat run. A year ago, I'd felt crazy, gaslit, dismissed. My boundaries had been treated as character flaws, my concerns as overreactions. But I'd been right. About Damien. About the importance of standing up for yourself. About trusting your instincts even when people you love tell you you're wrong. And now everyone else could see it too. Sometimes being too sensitive is just being the first person to notice something's wrong. Sometimes making everything a big deal is actually having standards. Sometimes the problem isn't your feelings, it's the people who want you to ignore them. I learned that the hard way. So did Brooke, and so did Talia. But we learned it. That's what matters. I got out of the car, went inside, made tea, settled onto my couch with a book. My phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. Hi, this is Lauren. I met Talia at the support group. She said you might be willing to talk to me about leaving my boyfriend. He does the same things her ex did. I'm scared. Can you help? I stared at the message, thought about everything I'd been through, everything I'd learned. Then I typed, of course. When can you talk? Because that's what we do. We help, we warn, we support, we refuse to let manipulators win. I spent the next hour on the phone with Lauren, gave her the same advice we'd given Talia. Make a plan, document everything. Don't tell him you're leaving. Thank you, she said when we finished. I've been trying to leave for months. Everyone said I was overreacting, that I should try harder. You're not overreacting, I said firmly. Trust your instincts. That's what Talia said you'd say. She's right. After we hung up, I texted Talia. Lauren called, I'm helping her. Thank you for giving her my number. Thank you for showing me how to pay it forward. I went to bed that night feeling purposeful, like everything I'd been through, all the pain, all the betrayal, all the fighting for my own boundaries, had led to this, to helping other women stand up for themselves. The next morning, I woke to more messages, 3 women from the support group, all asking for help, all trying to leave toxic situations. I spent my Saturday making calls, offering advice, connecting people to resources. By evening, I'd helped 4 women make plans to leave abusive partners. Brooke called as I was making dinner. I heard you spent the day helping women leave bad relationships. Talia told you? She posted about it on the support group page. Said you were a lifesaver. I'm just doing what you did for her. We should formalize this, Brooke said thoughtfully. Start something official. A network for women who've been through this. Who can help others get out? Like what? I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. Want to help? Obviously. We spent the next few months building it. A website, a hotline, a network of volunteers. All women who'd escaped toxic relationships and wanted to help others do the same. Talia joined as a volunteer. So did Kendall. So did Lauren and the other women from the support group. We called it Trust Your Instincts, a resource for women who'd been told they were too sensitive, too dramatic, too much. Women who needed permission to believe their own experiences. The response was overwhelming. Within 2 months, we'd helped over 50 women make safety plans. Within 6 months, that number tripled. Local news picked up the story. Former victims help others escape abuse. We did an interview, Brooke, Talia, and I, sitting together telling our stories. I was told I was too sensitive, Brooke said. When I questioned my boyfriend's behavior, he made me feel crazy. It wasn't until my best friend showed me proof that I realized I'd been right all along. I was the other woman, Talia admitted. I thought I was special. But I was just another victim of the same manipulation. When I tried to leave, I didn't know how. These women saved my life. We all saved each other, I said. That's the point. Women have been told forever that their feelings don't matter, that they're overreacting. But our feelings are usually telling us exactly what we need to know. We just need to learn to trust them. The interview went viral. Comments poured in from women sharing similar stories. I thought I was the only one. This happened to me too. Thank you for speaking up. We expanded, created support groups in 3 cities, trained more volunteers, partnered with domestic violence shelters. A year after the infamous dinner, we held our first fundraiser. Over 200 people attended, including Talia's parents, who donated money to the cause, including Connor, who'd helped build our website, including Kendall, who'd created our social media presence. Even Whitney, my former roommate who used to eat my leftovers, showed up. I'm sorry for dismissing your boundaries, she said. I didn't understand what a big deal it was until I read your story. Thank you, I said, genuinely surprised. The fundraiser raised $30,000, enough to keep our hotline running for a year, enough to help hundreds more women. As the night wound down, Brooke, Talia, and I stood together, watching people mingle and share their stories. We did this, Brooke said softly. We turned something terrible into something meaningful. We did, Talia agreed. And I'm so grateful. For second chances, for forgiveness, for being given the opportunity to be part of something bigger than myself. I looked at them both, my best friend who'd learned to listen, my cousin who'd learned to take accountability. We'd all grown, changed, become better. You know what the best part is? I said. What? They asked in unison. Nobody can ever call us too sensitive again, because we took those feelings, those instincts they tried to dismiss, and we built something that saves lives. Brooke raised her glass to being too sensitive. Talia raised hers to trusting our instincts. I raised mine to second chances and new beginnings. We clinked glasses, drank, smiled, because we'd survived, and we'd helped others survive too. That's the story of how my best friend said I was too sensitive until her boyfriend did the same thing to her. How we both learned to trust ourselves, how we turned pain into purpose, and how sometimes being told you're too much just means you're exactly enough.
I pretended to be broke for a year to see who really loved me, and my fiancé's reaction made me call off the wedding. It started the day my company got acquired. At 29, I walked away with $8.3 million after taxes. My business partner celebrated publicly. New car, luxury condo, the works. I did the opposite. I told everyone, including Tessa, that I'd gotten nothing, that the investors took everything and I was left with debt. Tessa and I had been together for 3 years. We lived in my modest apartment, drove my 10-year-old sedan, and split bills down the middle. She worked as a dental hygienist and made decent money. We were comfortable, planning a simple wedding for the following spring. The night I told her about the failed acquisition, she hugged me. We'll figure it out together, she said. For the first month, nothing changed. Then I started testing things. I mentioned my car needed expensive repairs I couldn't afford. She suggested I use my bike more. When my laptop died, I said I'd have to wait a few months to replace it. She offered to let me use hers, but seemed relieved when I declined. At restaurants, she started suggesting we split appetizers instead of getting our own meals. By month 3, she'd stopped talking about the wedding entirely. Maybe we should postpone, she said one night, until you're more financially stable. I agreed, watching her face flood with relief. That's when things accelerated. She started working late more often, going out with friends I'd never met, coming home smelling like expensive cologne that wasn't mine. When I suggested we do something together, she'd sigh about being tired or having plans. The real breaking point came when my uncle died. He was the only family I had left, and I was devastated. At the funeral, Tessa barely stayed an hour before claiming she had a migraine. I found her Instagram story later that night, at a rooftop bar downtown, cocktail in hand, laughing with some guy whose arm was around her waist. I started documenting everything after that. Her text messages to someone named Vaughn, complaining about being stuck with a broke loser. Photos of her at 5-star restaurants while telling me she was at her sister's house. Credit card statements showing purchases at jewelry stores and hotels. She'd opened a secret credit card I wasn't supposed to know about. The final straw came when she sat me down 6 weeks ago. I think we need to take a break, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. This situation is putting too much strain on our relationship. Maybe we should see other people for a while. I asked if there was someone else. She laughed, actually laughed. Don't be paranoid. I just need space to figure out what I want. What she wanted, I discovered, was Vaughn. He owned 3 car dealerships and had just bought a lake house. She'd been seeing him for 5 months. Last week, I invited her to lunch at the cafe where we'd had our first date. She showed up 20 minutes late, checking her phone constantly. I slid a folder across the table. Inside were printouts, her messages, her lies, every expensive dinner and hotel room. Her face went white. I can explain. I'm not broke, I said calmly. Haven't been for a year. I have $8.3 million actually. She stared at me, mouth open. I wanted to know who'd stay when things got hard. You didn't. She started crying, reaching for my hand. I was confused. I made mistakes. But I love you. No, I interrupted. You love what you thought I'd become. The wedding's off. We're done. I stood to leave, but she grabbed my wrist. You can't do this. We've been together 3 years. You owe me something. We were building a life together. That's when her phone buzzed on the table. A text from Vaughn. Did you tell him yet? My lawyer has the papers ready. Papers. I looked at her tear-stained face and suddenly understood. This wasn't just a breakup lunch. She'd planned something else entirely. What papers? I asked slowly. Her expression shifted. Panic. Then something colder. Common law marriage is recognized in this state, she said quietly. We've lived together long enough. You owe me half. I sat back down. Half of what, exactly? I asked, keeping my voice level. She straightened up, wiping her tears. The vulnerable act disappeared. Half of the 8.3 million. We've been cohabitating for 3 years. We presented ourselves as a couple. We shared financial responsibilities. That's common law marriage in this state. I pulled out my phone and opened my notes app, scrolling through the research I'd done months ago when I first suspected where this might be heading. Interesting theory, I said. Except this state actually abolished common law marriage in 1996. Any common law marriages have to have been established before that date to be recognized. Her face flickered with uncertainty. Vaughn's lawyer said, Vaughn's lawyer is either incompetent or you misunderstood him, I interrupted. But let's say, hypothetically, that you had any legal claim to my money. You'd still have a problem. I pulled out another folder from my bag. This one was thicker. I've documented every instance of your infidelity over the past 5 months. Text messages, photos, hotel receipts, restaurant bills. I've got timestamps showing you were with Vaughn when you told me you were elsewhere. I've got your Instagram stories proving you lied about where you were during my uncle's funeral. Her hands started trembling. In the event of a contested divorce, or any financial dispute between cohabitating partners, infidelity matters, especially when you can prove the unfaithful partner was actively deceiving the other while planning to make financial claims. You're bluffing, she said, but her voice wavered. I slid the folder across to her. She opened it, and I watched the color drain from her face as she flipped through page after page of evidence. That's not even all of it, I continued. I've got video footage from the apartment building's security cameras showing Vaughn entering our apartment on 3 separate occasions when I was at work. I've got credit card statements showing you paid for hotel rooms with the card you thought I didn't know about. I've got— Stop. Her voice was barely a whisper. No, I don't think I will. I leaned forward. You want to know the really interesting part? I consulted with 3 different attorneys over the past 2 months. Not because I thought you had any legitimate claim to my money, but because I wanted to be prepared in case you tried something like this. I pulled out a 3rd document. This is a cohabitation agreement backdated to when we first moved in together. It clearly states that all assets brought into the relationship remain separate property. It has your signature on it. Her eyes widened. I never signed that. Actually, you did. Remember that lease renewal form I asked you to sign last year? The one I said the landlord required? You signed 3 documents that day. 2 were lease related. 1 was this. It wasn't entirely true. I'd only had my lawyer draft the cohabitation agreement a month ago after I caught Tessa meeting with Vaughn's lawyer, but she didn't know that. And the signature was hers. I'd carefully traced it from one of the lease documents. Technically fraud, but she'd never be able to prove it unless she wanted to take me to court, which would mean exposing her own attempted fraud. She stared at the document, her mouth opening and closing. You son of a bitch, she finally said. Says the woman who just tried to steal $4 million from me. I gathered my folders. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to move out of the apartment by the end of the week. You'll take only what you brought into the relationship, which I've documented with photos and receipts. If you try to claim anything else, I'll file charges for theft. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know. Maybe Vaughn will let you move into his lake house, though I should warn you, I sent him an interesting email this morning. Her eyes went wide. What did you do? I sent him all the text messages you sent me over the past year. The ones where you said you loved me, that you couldn't wait to marry me, that I was the only man you'd ever need. I also included the messages you sent him at the same time, saying almost identical things. I stood up, leaving money on the table for my untouched coffee. I also sent him the photos of you trying on engagement rings at Cartier last month, the ones you were clearly planning to show him to drop hints. Funny thing, the same day you were at Cartier, you told me you were visiting your sick grandmother. You had no right. I had every right. You were planning to defraud me. I simply made sure your backup plan knew what kind of person he was dealing with. I walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Oh, and Tessa? The apartment isn't actually in my name anymore. I transferred it to an LLC 3 months ago. So you have no claim on it, no tenant rights, nothing. The locks will be changed on Friday at 5 p.m. Make sure you're out by then. I left her sitting there, staring at the evidence of her own betrayal spread across the table. My phone started ringing before I even made it to my car. It was Vaughn. I answered. Hello, Vaughn. Tess has told you about our conversation? You lying piece of shit. His voice was pure rage. You pretended to be broke. What kind of psycho does that? The kind who wants to know if his fiancée actually loves him or just his bank account. Looks like I got my answer. But I appreciate you calling. Saves me the trouble of reaching out. Listen here, you listen. My voice went cold. I know you've been sleeping with my fiancée for 5 months. I know you were planning to help her defraud me. And I know your divorce from your second wife was finalized exactly 2 months before you started seeing Tessa. Silence on the other end. That's right. I did my homework on you too. I know that your dealerships are leveraged to the hilt. I know you're underwater on that lake house. I know you're looking for a quick infusion of cash, and you saw Tessa as an easy mark to get access to my money. That's not— Save it. Here's what I'm offering you. Walk away from Tessa. Never contact her again. Never contact me again. And I won't send the evidence I have of your conspiracy to commit fraud to your business partners and the state attorney general. You can't prove conspiracy. Can't I? I've got text messages between you and Tessa discussing how to maximize her claim against my assets. I've got emails between you and your lawyer discussing the common law marriage strategy, which, by the way, your lawyer knew wouldn't work. That's conspiracy to commit fraud, and your lawyer could be disbarred. More silence. Or, I continued, you can roll the dice. See if your already struggling businesses can survive the negative publicity and potential criminal investigation. Your choice. He hung up without another word. I drove home. To my new home, actually. I'd bought a house 4 months ago under the LLC's name. 3 bedrooms, beautiful yard, in a neighborhood Tessa had always wanted to live in. She'd never know I owned it. When I walked in, my business partner Alex was waiting in the living room with 2 glasses of whiskey. How'd it go? He asked, handing me a glass. Better than expected. She actually tried the common law marriage angle, just like we predicted. Alex laughed. I still can't believe you called this a year ago. When you first told me you were going to pretend to be broke, I thought you were paranoid. Cautious, I corrected. There's a difference. We'd met in college, started our tech company in his parents' garage 7 years ago. When the acquisition offer came through, we'd both been ecstatic, but Alex had been engaged once before, to a woman who left him the moment his first startup failed. He understood why I needed to test Tessa. So, what's next? Alex asked. Nothing. It's over. She'll move out, probably try to reconcile with Vaughn, realize he wants nothing to do with her, and move on with her life. That's it? After everything she did, everything she tried to do, you're just letting her walk away? I took a sip of whiskey. I'm not letting her walk away. I'm choosing not to destroy her. There's a difference. She lost me, she lost Vaughn, and she's about to lose the comfortable life she thought she was entitled to. That's punishment enough, but I was wrong. It wasn't over. 3 days later, I came home to find my apartment ransacked. Not robbed, ransacked. Drawers pulled out, papers everywhere, couch cushions slashed, and spray painted across my bedroom wall in red paint. Liar. I called the police. They took photos, dusted for prints, and asked if I had any enemies. My ex-fiancée, I said. I broke up with her 4 days ago. She was supposed to move out by Friday. They went to question her. She had an alibi. She was at work during the time the vandalism occurred. Multiple coworkers confirmed it, but I knew it was her, or someone she'd hired. The officer gave me her new address. She moved out yesterday, staying with a friend, she said. After the police left, I assessed the damage. Most of it was cosmetic, replaceable. But then I went to check my home office. My filing cabinet had been pried open. The drawer where I kept important documents was empty. I'd backed everything up digitally, kept copies in a safety deposit box. But she'd taken the originals of our lease, utility bills, and several other documents that showed we'd lived together. She'd also taken every photo album from our 3 years together. My phone rang. Tessa. Looking for something? She asked sweetly. Breaking and entering is a felony, Tessa. I have no idea what you're talking about. I was at work all day. But it's funny. I was going through some old photos and documents I'd forgotten I had. Evidence of our long-term domestic partnership. The kind of evidence that might interest a civil court. You can't, can I? Maybe common law marriage isn't recognized here, but palimony is. Long-term domestic partnerships where one party supported the other, or where there was an implied promise of continued support. I've got 3 years of photos showing us as a committed couple. I've got our lease showing we presented ourselves as a domestic unit. And I've got something else. My stomach dropped. Remember that cohabitation agreement you say I signed? I had it examined by a handwriting expert. Turns out the signature doesn't quite match my usual signature. Looks like someone might have traced it. I'd underestimated her, or overestimated my ability to forge her signature well enough to pass expert scrutiny. That's fraud, she continued. Attempting to create a legal document with a forged signature. I could report you to the police, or to the state bar since your lawyer presumably knew about it, or what? Or you pay me to go away, let's say $500,000, a fraction of what you have, but enough for me to start over and enough to make sure I never have to see you again. That's extortion. That's negotiation. You have until Friday to decide. Otherwise, I file a palimony suit and report the forged signature to the police. Even if you win in court eventually, imagine the legal fees, the time, the publicity. Everyone will know you're the guy who faked being broke to test his fiancée. How will that look? She hung up. I sat in my destroyed apartment and realized I'd made a critical error. I'd assumed exposing Tessa would be enough to make her slink away. Instead, I'd cornered her, and a cornered person becomes dangerous. I called my lawyer immediately. She's right about the palimony, he said after I explained the situation. It's a long shot, but she could make a case. And the forged signature, he sighed. That was incredibly stupid. I told you not to do that. You told me it was risky. You didn't tell me not to do it, because I assumed you'd have the common sense not to forge a legal document. If she can prove that signature is forged, she could file criminal charges. Fraud, forgery, those are serious crimes. So what do I do? Honestly, you might want to consider paying her. $500,000? For what? Being a bad person? For making a mistake when you tried to trap her. Look, I get it. She's terrible. But you're not exactly clean here either. You lied about your finances, you forged her signature on a legal document, and now she has leverage. Sometimes the smart move is to cut your losses. I hung up and sat in the dark. $500,000. It was less than 10% of what I had, but it felt like letting her win. Like rewarding her for being exactly the kind of person I'd suspected she was. But my lawyer was right. A court case would cost me time, money, and reputation. Even if I won, I'd lose. I called her back. I'll pay you $300,000. In exchange, you sign a non-disclosure agreement. You never speak about our relationship, about the money, about anything. You disappear from my life completely. $500,000 and the NDA, she countered. Take it or leave it. I wanted to refuse. I wanted to call her bluff, take my chances in court. But I thought about Alex, about how his ex had dragged him through a 6-month legal battle that cost him $80,000 in attorney fees. I thought about the stress, the distraction from building my new life. $400,000, I said. That's my final offer. She was quiet for a long moment. Fine, $400,000, but I want it in cash. Cashier's check. Take it or leave it. Deal. Tomorrow at noon. Same cafe. I showed up the next day with the check and the NDA. Tessa was already there, looking smug. She read through the NDA carefully, then signed it. I handed her the check. Pleasure doing business with you, she said, tucking it into her purse. I stood to leave, but she grabbed my wrist, the same way I tried to leave the last time we met. You know what the funny thing is? She said. I actually did love you, at first, but somewhere along the way, You became boring, safe, and when you told me you'd lost everything, I realized I didn't love you enough to stay poor with you. Maybe that makes me shallow, but at least I'm honest about what I want. You're not honest, I said, pulling my hand away. You're just a coward who's finally admitting what you've been hiding all along. I left her there with her check and her self-justifications. For the next 2 weeks, I tried to move on. I threw myself into planning my next business venture. I started dating again. Casual, nothing serious. I repainted my bedroom wall and replaced the slashed couch cushions, but something nagged at me. The way Tessa had been so confident, so prepared with the handwriting expert and the palimony strategy. It felt too sophisticated for her to have come up with alone. I started digging into Vaughn's background more thoroughly, and that's when I found it. Vaughn had been married 3 times. His first marriage ended in a simple divorce, but his second marriage ended with a palimony lawsuit filed by a woman he dated before the wedding. That lawsuit had cost him $200,000 to settle. His third marriage, the one that ended 2 months before he met Tessa, had ended with his wife claiming he'd hidden assets during the divorce. She'd sued, and he'd settled for an undisclosed amount. Vaughn wasn't just a cheater. He was a con artist who specialized in financial manipulation, and he'd taught Tessa everything she knew. I pulled up the NDA she'd signed. It prevented her from talking about our relationship, but it didn't prevent me from investigating whether our breakup had been part of a larger pattern. I hired a private investigator, the same one I'd used to follow Tessa during our relationship. His name was Dennis, a former police detective who'd gone private after retirement. Find out everything about Vaughn's previous relationships, I told him, especially the financial aspects, and find out if he's targeted anyone else recently. Dennis called me 3 days later. You're going to want to see this in person. We met at his office. He spread out a dozen files across his desk. Vaughn Herrera, Dennis said, tapping the first file. Age 43, owns 3 car dealerships that are barely breaking even. He's been married 3 times, engaged twice more before those marriages. Every relationship has ended with some kind of financial payout. He opened the second file. His first serious girlfriend sued him for $50,000, claiming he'd promised to support her through law school, then dumped her right before graduation. He settled for $30,000. Third file. His first wife divorced him after 2 years. Normal divorce, nothing suspicious. But 6 months later, a woman he'd dated during his marriage filed a palimony suit. She claimed he'd moved her into an apartment, promised to support her, then cut her off when his wife found out. Settled for $75,000. Fourth file. His second wife divorced him, claiming he'd hidden assets. During the divorce proceedings, another woman came forward with a palimony claim. She'd been his mistress for a year, and he'd rented her an apartment and paid her credit cards. When his wife found out, he cut her off completely. That settlement was $200,000. Let me guess, I said. The third wife? Dennis nodded. Divorced him 3 months before he met Tessa. And during that divorce, guess who showed up with a palimony claim? Another mistress. 2 of them, actually. He settled both claims for a combined $180,000. Which explains why his dealerships are so leveraged. He keeps having to liquidate assets to pay off the women he uses. I leaned back in my chair. So, Vaughn has a pattern of getting involved with women, making financial promises, then dumping them and getting sued. And somehow they always end up with a payout. It gets better, Dennis said, opening another file. I talked to his second wife. She said Vaughn taught her everything about how to maximize her claims during the divorce. He actually helped her understand which assets she could go after, how to document their lifestyle, what kind of evidence she'd need. Why would he do that? Because he gets off on it. Control, manipulation, the game of it all. His second wife said he treated it like a sport, seeing how much he could get from women and how little he'd have to pay them when things ended. She said he used to brag about teaching his girlfriends how to protect themselves financially, then acting shocked when they actually used that information against him. I thought about Tessa's sudden sophistication in threatening me, the handwriting expert, the palimony strategy, the precise negotiation tactics. He coached her, I said. He taught her exactly what to do to get money from me. Almost certainly, Dennis agreed. And here's the kicker. I talked to one of his other ex-girlfriends. She said Vaughn deliberately targets women in relationships with wealthy men. He seduces them, teaches them how to extract money from their partners, then takes a cut of whatever they get. My blood ran cold. Tessa gave him part of the $400,000. I'd bet on it. I'm still trying to trace the check, but I guess she split it with him 50-50, maybe 60-40 in his favor. I sat there processing. I thought I was dealing with the cheating fiancé. Instead, I'd been targeted by a professional con artist who used women as proxies to extract money from their wealthy partners. Can we prove any of this? I asked. Dennis shrugged. Maybe. But proving it and having it matter in court are 2 different things. She signed your NDA. You paid her off. Unless you can prove she committed fraud or extortion, you're stuck. I thought about it for a long moment. Then I smiled. What if we don't try to get my money back? What if we make sure they can't do this to anyone else? Dennis leaned forward. I'm listening. Over the next month, I became obsessed. I hired Dennis full-time to investigate every aspect of Vaughn's life and relationships. We tracked down his ex-wives, his ex-girlfriends, his business partners. We built a file that would make a federal prosecutor jealous. And we found something even better than evidence of fraud. We found a pattern. Vaughn didn't just target wealthy men through their partners. He specifically targeted men in the tech industry. In the past 5 years, he'd been involved with 6 different women who'd all left wealthy tech entrepreneurs. Every single one had ended with a payout between $100,000 and $500,000. He's running a con, Dennis said, laying out the timeline. He identifies wealthy tech guys through social media, business news, acquisition announcements. Then he targets their wives or girlfriends, always women who seem unhappy or unsatisfied. He seduces them, teaches them his playbook, helps them extract money and takes his cut. And then what? They just disappear? Usually. Sometimes he keeps stringing them along for a while, but eventually he moves on to the next target. The women think they're in love with him, that they're going to run off together, but he's just using them. I thought about Tessa, about the way she'd looked at me when she said she actually loved me at first. Had any of it been real? Or had Vaughn been playing her from the start? Where is she now? I asked. Dennis pulled out his phone. Still in town? Living in an apartment downtown? Expensive place? Way nicer than she could afford on her dental hygienist's salary. Vaughn's been seen going in and out. And the money? $400,000 went into her account. 3 days later, $200,000 was wired to an account in Vaughn's name. The remaining $200,000 is still in her account. So I'd been right. She'd given him half. What's our move? Dennis asked. I thought about it. I could go to the police, but what would I report? That my ex-fiancé cheated on me and I paid her to go away? That wasn't a crime? That she split the money with her boyfriend? Also not a crime. Unless we could prove Vaughn had been coaching her all along. Unless we could prove he'd orchestrated the entire thing, from the moment he'd targeted her to the moment she'd signed my check. That would be conspiracy to commit extortion. That would be fraud. That would be something the police could actually act on. We need proof that Vaughn set this up from the beginning, I said. Phone records, emails, something that shows he identified me as a target and deliberately seduced Tessa to get to my money. Dennis nodded. That's going to be tough. He's careful, and he's been doing this for years without getting caught. Then we need someone on the inside, I said. Someone close to Vaughn who can get us what we need. Like who? I thought about all the women Vaughn had used and discarded. All the ex-girlfriends who thought they were special, who thought he'd love them, who found out too late they were just part of his con. Like someone who wants revenge just as much as I do. It took Dennis 2 weeks to find the right person. Her name was Gabrielle, and she'd been Vaughn's mistress during his third marriage. She was the one who'd filed the palimony claim, the one who'd gotten $90,000 in the settlement. We met at a coffee shop across town. Gabrielle was 34, impeccably dressed, with sharp eyes that had seen through too many lies. You're the latest mark, she said when Dennis introduced us. Not a question. Actually, my ex-fiancé was the mark. I'm just collateral damage. She laughed bitterly. That's Vaughn's specialty. He uses women to get to men, then discards the women when he's done. Makes him harder to trace, harder to prosecute. How long were you with him? 14 months. Longest relationship he's ever had, or so he told me. He said he loved me, that he was going to leave his wife, that we'd start over together. Then his wife filed for divorce, and suddenly I was a liability. He tried to cut me off completely, stopped paying my rent, canceled the credit cards he'd given me, changed his phone number. But you sued him. Damn right I sued him. I'd given up my job, my apartment, my entire life because he promised to take care of me. I wasn't going to let him just walk away. And after you got your settlement? Her expression darkened. He called me. Said he was impressed by how I'd handled myself. Said most women would have just taken the rejection and moved on, but I'd fought for what I deserved. He said if I ever needed advice on relationship negotiations, I should call him. Did you? Once. I was dating someone new, a doctor. Things were getting serious, but I was worried about protecting myself financially. Vaughn told me exactly what to document, how to present myself as a domestic partner, what kind of evidence I'd need if things went south. She paused. 2 months later, I found out Vaughn was sleeping with my younger sister. I leaned forward. He went after your sister? Oh, it gets better. My sister was dating a hedge fund manager at the time. Vaughn seduced her, coached her through breaking up with the guy, helped her negotiate a settlement. She got $150,000, and then Vaughn disappeared from her life too. Did your sister give him a cut? Half, and she didn't even realize she'd been used until I showed her the pattern. By then, he was already gone, already on to his next target. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo of Tessa. Recognize her? Gabrielle studied it for a long moment. No, but she looks like his type. Pretty, professional, just insecure enough to be vulnerable to his attention. She's my ex-fiancée. Vaughn started seeing her about a year ago, right after I told her I'd lost all my money in a business deal. She thought she was leaving me for someone better. She didn't realize she was being recruited. Recruited for what? To get money from me. He coached her through extorting $400,000, then took half of it. Gabrielle's eyes flashed with anger. And let me guess, she thinks they're in love? She thinks they're going to run away together and start a new life? Probably. They always do. That's the whole point of Vaughn's con. He makes these women fall in love with him, convinces them they're special, gets them to do his dirty work, and then vanishes. Some of them figure it out eventually. Most just think the relationship didn't work out and move on with their payout money, never realizing they were played. I want to stop him, I said. And I want to get back at Tessa for what she did. But I need proof that this was all orchestrated from the beginning. I need evidence that Vaughn deliberately targeted her to get to me. Gabrielle considered this. What's in it for me? The satisfaction of watching him go down. And maybe some financial compensation for your time and risk. How much? $50,000 if you can help me get the evidence I need to prosecute him. She thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. I want $75,000, and I want immunity from any charges that might come up related to my own settlement with Vaughn. I can't promise immunity. I'm not the DA, but you can pay for a lawyer to negotiate it for me. I glanced at Dennis, who nodded slightly. It was a reasonable ask. Deal, I said. What can you give me? Gabrielle smiled. Vaughn keeps records, detailed records, names, dates, amounts, strategies. He's arrogant enough to think he'll never get caught, so he documents everything like it's a business. He used to show me his portfolio of successful negotiations, bragged about how much money he'd helped women extract from their wealthy partners. Where does he keep these records? In his home office, in a safe, and I know the combination. My heart started racing. How? He had me memorize it in case of emergency, said if anything ever happened to him, I should go get the documents and destroy them. I think he was planning on using them as leverage if anyone ever tried to come after him. Will you go get them? That's breaking and entering. That's burglary. Not if you have permission to be there. Do you still have a key? No, he changed the locks after I sued him. I thought about it. What if he invited you over? Why would he do that? Because you have information about a new target, someone wealthy, vulnerable, perfect for his next con. Gabrielle caught on immediately. You want me to pitch him on a new mark, get invited to his place to discuss strategy, and while I'm there, I photograph everything in the safe. Exactly. She leaned back, considering. It could work. Vaughn loves recruiting people into his schemes. Makes him feel powerful. If I came to him asking for advice on a new relationship, claiming I needed his expertise, would he believe you? After what happened with your sister? That's ancient history to him. And he's arrogant enough to think I've forgiven him, or that I need him despite everything. Men like Vaughn always think they're irreplaceable. We spent the next hour planning. Gabrielle would reach out to Vaughn, claim she'd met someone new, a tech entrepreneur who just had a successful IPO. She'd say she needed advice on how to protect herself financially, maybe even how to ensure she'd get a payout if things went south. Vaughn would eat it up, and when he invited her over to discuss strategy, she'd get us the evidence we needed. 3 days later, Gabrielle sent me a text. He took the bait. Meeting at his place tomorrow at 7 p.m. Dennis and I parked down the street from Vaughn's house the next evening. Gabrielle wore a hidden camera disguised as a pendant necklace. We'd watch everything in real time from Dennis's laptop in his car. She knocked on Vaughn's door at exactly 7 p.m. He answered with a smile that made my skin crawl, the same smile I'd seen in photos with Tessa. Gabrielle, it's been too long. Thanks for seeing me, Vaughn. I really need your help. They settled in his living room. Vaughn poured wine. Gabrielle launched into her fabricated story about the tech entrepreneur. Details we'd carefully crafted to seem real but vague enough that Vaughn couldn't verify them. He's worth about $15 million, Gabrielle said. But he's also cautious. Very cautious. I'm not sure how to position myself for the long term. Vaughn leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. Tell me more about him. How did you meet? What's his vulnerability? As Gabrielle spun her tale, I watched Vaughn's face. He was completely engaged, already planning how to exploit this fictional person. Here's what you do, Vaughn finally said. You need to establish a pattern of financial dependence. Start having him pay for things. Your rent, your car, your credit cards. Not all at once, but gradually. Frame it as him wanting to take care of you because he loves you, he continued, laying out the exact playbook he'd used with Tessa and every other woman before her. Document everything, he said. Keep records of every payment, every promise, every text where he says he wants to support you. Then, when you're ready to exit, you have evidence of an implied contract. What if he asks for a prenup? Gabrielle asked. Don't marry him. Marriage complicates things. Better to maintain the relationship, establish financial dependence, and then negotiate your way out. Palimony suits are harder to defend against than divorce claims because the laws are murkier. And what's your cut? Gabrielle asked innocently. Vaughn smiled. Depends on what you get. Usually 40-50%. I provide the expertise, you do the work. Fair split. That's what you got from Tessa? His expression shifted slightly. How do you know about Tessa? I saw you with her downtown last week. Pretty girl. Is she one of your projects? Vaughn relaxed. Was. Her mark paid out $400,000. I got my standard 50%. Nice. How'd you find her? Business acquisition announcement. Tech entrepreneur made $8.3 million. I saw he had a girlfriend. Fiancé, actually. She was easy. Already insecure about the relationship, worried he'd trade up once he had money. I just had to make her feel special. Teach her how to protect herself, and let nature take its course. Gabrielle nodded appreciatively. You're good at this. I've had practice. Want to see my portfolio? My heart nearly stopped. Was he actually going to show her the records? Your portfolio? Success stories. Women I've helped, amounts they've secured, strategies that worked. It's all documented. Come on, I'll show you. He led her to his home office. The camera showed file cabinets, a large desk, and a wall safe. This is my insurance policy, Vaughn said, opening the safe. Every successful negotiation, every settlement, every strategy. If anyone ever comes after me, I've got evidence that these women were willing participants. Some of them even signed contracts agreeing to split their payouts with me. He pulled out a binder and opened it. The camera captured page after page of names, amounts, strategies, timeline details. It was everything we needed. Tessa Bennett, Vaughn said, flipping to a recent page. Engaged to tech entrepreneur. Target value, $8.3 million. Strategy, seduce target's partner. Establish infidelity. Coach through breakup negotiation. Actual payout, $400,000. My share, $200,000. Status, completed. He turned to another page. Christina Valdez, dating hedge fund manager. Target value, $12 million. Strategy, establish domestic partnership. Document cohabitation. Threaten palimony suit. Actual payout, $275,000. My share, $150,000. Status, completed. Page after page. Names I didn't recognize, but all following the same pattern. Wealthy men, vulnerable partners, coached exits, substantial payouts. This is incredible, Gabrielle said, her voice perfectly modulated between admiration and awe. How many have you done? 32 over the past 8 years. Total payouts secured, $6.2 million. My share, $3.1 million. He was bragging. Actually bragging about running a multi-million-dollar extortion operation. And you've never gotten caught? Vaughn laughed. Why would I? I'm just a relationship coach helping women protect themselves financially. If their partners choose to pay them to avoid legal hassles, that's between them. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm not breaking any laws. I'm just teaching women to recognize their worth. Genius, Gabrielle said. And then, perfectly, naturally, can I take some photos of these pages for reference when I'm working with my guy? Go ahead. In fact, let me make you copies. Consider it part of my consulting fee. He left the room to make copies. The moment he was gone, Gabrielle quickly photographed the entire binder, every page, every detail. She also photographed the safe's interior, which contained stacks of cash, additional documents, and what looked like signed contracts. When Vaughn returned with the copies, they wrapped up the meeting. He walked her to the door, promising to be available for consultations throughout her project. "Good luck with your tech guy," he said. "And remember, you're worth every penny you can get." Gabrielle was shaking when she got back to the car. We drove several blocks before any of us spoke. "Did you get it all?" I finally asked. "Every page," she said, pulling off the necklace camera. "Names, amounts, strategies, everything. And he admitted on camera that he coached Tessa specifically to get money from you." Dennis was already downloading the footage to his laptop. "This is enough," he said. "This is absolutely enough to prosecute." I watched the footage 3 times that night. Vaughn's calm admission that he'd targeted me through Tessa. The binder with 32 documented cases of what was essentially conspiracy to commit extortion. The contracts showing women had agreed to split their payouts with him. We had him. The next morning, I took everything to a lawyer who specialized in financial fraud. She reviewed the evidence, made copies, and then looked at me seriously. "This is a criminal case," she said. "You need to take this to the district attorney's office. What Vaughn is doing, coaching people to extort money, taking a cut of the settlements, that's conspiracy to commit extortion, possibly racketeering if we can prove it's an ongoing criminal enterprise. Will they prosecute? With this evidence? Absolutely. You've got him on video admitting to multiple crimes. You've got documentation of 32 separate cases. You've even got signed contracts showing he took money in exchange for coaching these women to commit extortion. This is a prosecutor's dream case. What about Tessa?" The lawyer hesitated. "That's trickier. She participated in the extortion, but she might also be considered a victim of Vaughn's manipulation. The DA will have to decide whether to charge her or offer her immunity in exchange for testimony against Vaughn." "I want her charged," I said. "I understand. But that might not be your decision. The DA will do what's best for building a case against Vaughn, and that might mean giving Tessa a deal." I didn't like it, but I understood. Sometimes you have to let the smaller fish go to catch the shark. We met with an assistant district attorney named Patricia Chen 2 days later. She was in her 40s, sharp, and clearly excited by the evidence we presented. "This is extraordinary," she said, watching the video of Vaughn showing off his portfolio. "We've had reports about him before. Women who claimed he'd coached them through breakups, then disappeared when they tried to contact him. But we never had enough evidence to prosecute." "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we build a case. We'll need to interview some of the other women on his list, get their testimony. We'll need to trace the money, bank records showing the payouts and the transfers to Vaughn, and we'll need to decide what to do about your ex-fiancée." "She participated willingly," I said. "She vandalized my apartment when I wouldn't pay her initially. She hired a handwriting expert to prove I'd forged a document. She knew exactly what she was doing." Patricia nodded. "I believe you. But from a prosecutorial standpoint, we need to determine whether she was a co-conspirator or another victim of Vaughn's manipulation. If we can prove she knew about his other schemes, that he recruited her specifically to target you, then we can charge her as an accomplice. If we can only prove she was coached through one extortion attempt, we might offer her immunity to testify against Vaughn. She got $400,000 from me. She doesn't deserve immunity." "I agree, but I need you to understand that my priority is convicting Vaughn Herrera of running a criminal enterprise. If that means giving Tessa Bennett a deal, I'll give her a deal. However," she leaned forward, "if you're willing to wear a wire and confront her, we might be able to get her to admit she knew about Vaughn's pattern, that she knowingly participated in an ongoing criminal scheme." I didn't hesitate. "When do we start?" The plan was simple. I'd call Tessa, tell her I knew about Vaughn's other schemes, and offer her a chance to come clean before everything went public. We'd record the conversation. If she admitted knowing about Vaughn's pattern, if she implicated herself as a willing participant rather than a victim, we'd have enough to charge her alongside Vaughn. I made the call 3 days later, wearing a wire in Patricia Chen's office. Tessa answered on the 3rd ring. "What do you want?" "To talk. About you and Vaughn and the 31 other women he's coached through extorting their partners." Silence. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. I know about his portfolio. I know you're not the first woman he's used to get to a wealthy mark. I know he took half of the $400,000 I paid you, and I know he's probably already planning his exit from your life." "You're insane." "Am I? Do you know about Christina Valdez? About Gabrielle Morrison? About the 29 other women who thought they were special? Who thought Vaughn loved them? Who found out they were just another payday?" More silence. I could hear her breathing. "He told me you'd try something like this," she finally said. "Try to turn me against him by making up stories. He told you I'd figure it out? Interesting. What else did he tell you? Did he explain his exit strategy? How he ghosts women once he's gotten his money? Did he mention that he's already been seen with someone new? A paralegal whose boyfriend just made partner at a major law firm?" I was bluffing about the paralegal, but the response told me everything. "You're lying. I can prove all of it. I have documentation of every woman Vaughn's coached, every payout he's taken. I have video of him admitting to running this scheme, and I'm offering you one chance to get ahead of this before it all comes out." "Ahead of what?" "The district attorney's office is building a case against Vaughn for conspiracy to commit extortion and racketeering. When they arrest him, and they will arrest him, every woman he's worked with will be investigated. Some will be considered victims, some will be charged as accomplices. Which one you end up being depends on what you do next." I could hear panic in her breathing now. "What do you want?" "The truth. Did you know about Vaughn's other schemes when he coached you to extort me? Did he tell you he'd done this before?" No. I mean, he said he'd helped other women through difficult breakups, but nothing. Did he or did he not tell you he'd coached other women to get money from their wealthy partners?" A long pause, then quietly. "Yes, he said he was an expert at relationship negotiations, that he'd helped dozens of women protect themselves financially." "And you knew he was taking a cut of what you got from me?" That was his consulting fee. He earned it. So you willingly participated in a scheme to extort money from me, knowing Vaughn had done the same thing to other men, and you split the proceeds with him. It wasn't extortion. You offered to pay me to go away. I just accepted. After you trashed my apartment and threatened to report me for forging your signature. After you hired a handwriting expert specifically to create leverage against me. That's extortion, Tessa. And you knew exactly what you were doing because Vaughn taught you how to do it. I want a lawyer. Good idea. You're going to need one. I hung up. Patricia Chen smiled. That was perfect. She admitted knowing about Vaughn's pattern. She admitted splitting the money with him. And she admitted the threats were designed to extract payment from you. We can charge her as an accomplice. What happens now? Now we get an arrest warrant for both of them. The arrests happened simultaneously 2 weeks later. Vaughn was taken into custody at one of his car dealerships, in front of customers and employees. Tessa was arrested at the dental clinic where she worked, escorted out in handcuffs while her co-workers stared. The local news picked up the story that evening. Local businessman arrested for running multi-million-dollar extortion ring. Vaughn's photo was everywhere, along with details of his scheme. By the next morning, 3 more women had come forward. Women who'd been coached by Vaughn but hadn't been included in his portfolio. The DA's office was overwhelmed with tips and information. Tessa's lawyer reached out immediately, wanting to discuss a deal. Patricia Chen refused. Your client is going to trial, she told him. She's not a victim here. She's a co-conspirator. She knew about Herrera's pattern, she willingly participated in extortion, and she profited from it. If she wants to help herself, she can plead guilty and hope for leniency at sentencing. The trial took 8 months to prepare. During that time, I testified before a grand jury. So did Gabrielle and 15 of the 32 women from Vaughn's portfolio. Some were sympathetic. They genuinely believed Vaughn loved them and hadn't fully understood what they were participating in. Others were like Tessa, willing accomplices who'd known exactly what they were doing. The trial itself lasted 3 weeks. The prosecution presented the video of Vaughn showing his portfolio to Gabrielle. They presented testimony from his ex-wives and ex-girlfriends. They traced the money, showing how Vaughn had received transfers totaling over $3 million from women who'd extorted their partners. Vaughn's lawyer tried to argue it was all consensual, that Vaughn was simply a relationship coach who'd helped women secure fair settlements. But the prosecution demolished that argument by showing Vaughn's own words. Target value. Strategy. My share. This wasn't coaching. It was a criminal enterprise. Tessa testified, trying to paint herself as a victim of Vaughn's manipulation. But under cross-examination, she admitted that Vaughn had told her about his previous successes. She admitted she'd known he would take half of whatever she got from me. She admitted the apartment vandalism, the threats, the calculated negotiation strategy. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Vaughn Herrera was found guilty on all counts: conspiracy to commit extortion, racketeering, and fraud. He was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison and ordered to pay restitution of $3.1 million, the full amount he'd received from his schemes. Tessa Bennett was found guilty of conspiracy to commit extortion and extortion. She was sentenced to 4 years in prison and ordered to pay me $400,000 in restitution, the full amount I'd paid her. I sat in the courtroom and watched as they led them both away. Tessa looked back once, her face a mixture of shock and disbelief. Vaughn stared straight ahead, his expression blank. After the sentencing, Patricia Chen found me in the hallway. You okay? She asked. I will be. Thank you for taking this seriously. Thank you for bringing it to us. Herrera might have gone on for years if you hadn't decided to fight back. I nodded, but something still bothered me. The $400,000 restitution from Tessa, I said. She doesn't have that money anymore. Vaughn took half, and I'm guessing she spent the rest. Probably. But the judgment stands. She'll have to pay it back eventually, even if it takes her whole life. Garnished wages, seized assets, whatever it takes. And the $200,000 that went to Vaughn? That'll be paid back as part of his restitution to all his victims. You'll get your full $400,000 back eventually. Some from Tessa, some from Vaughn. It wasn't really about the money anymore. It had never been about the money, not really. It was about the principle. About proving that people can't just use and manipulate others without consequences. 6 months after the trial, I ran into Gabrielle at a coffee shop. She'd gotten her $75,000 payment, plus an additional $90,000 from Vaughn's restitution fund, repayment for what he'd taken from her years ago. How are you doing? She asked. Better? You? Better too. I've started a victim advocacy group, helping people who've been targeted by financial predators. Turns out there are a lot of Vaughns out there, and not enough people willing to fight back. That's amazing. It's necessary. You know, I used to blame myself for falling for Vaughn's con, but I've realized that's what predators do. They exploit vulnerability. That doesn't make it our fault. She was right. I'd spent months wondering if I'd been paranoid for testing Tessa, if I'd somehow caused the situation by pretending to be broke. But the truth was simpler. Tessa had chosen to cheat, chosen to lie, chosen to participate in extortion. Those were her choices, not mine. Have you started dating again? Gabrielle asked. Not seriously. I'm taking it slow. Good. Trust takes time to rebuild, and next time, maybe just ask the hard questions instead of conducting elaborate tests. I laughed. Yeah, probably a better approach. We talked for another hour, comparing notes on our recovery from being targeted by predators. It was therapeutic in a way I hadn't expected. Someone who truly understood what I'd been through. When I left, I felt lighter than I had in over a year. 3 months later, I got a letter from Tessa. It had been forwarded through the court system. She wasn't allowed to contact me directly due to the restraining order I'd filed. The letter was 2 pages long, handwritten in her familiar script. She apologized. She explained how she'd fallen for Vaughn's manipulation, how she'd convinced herself she deserved the money because she'd spent 3 years with me. She talked about her therapy in prison, about understanding how she'd rationalized her choices. I was selfish and cruel, she wrote. I betrayed someone who loved me because I was too weak to handle the thought of being with someone who didn't have money. That's not your failure. It's mine. She said she was working in the prison library, that she'd started taking business classes, that she was trying to become someone better than the person she'd been. I know I can never make this right, the letter concluded, and I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I understand what I did and why it was wrong. I'm paying for it now, and I'll keep paying for it for the rest of my life. You deserve better. I'm sorry I wasn't capable of being what you needed. I read the letter 3 times, then put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe I wouldn't. For now, it was enough to know that she understood the consequences of her choices. 2 years after the trial, I met someone new. Her name was Rachel, and she was a teacher at the elementary school next to my company's new office. We met when I volunteered to talk to her class about entrepreneurship. She was funny, kind, genuinely interested in people. We dated for 6 months before I told her about Tessa and the trial. Wow, she said when I finished the story. That's a lot. I know, and I understand if it's too much baggage. Are you kidding? You stood up for yourself and helped bring down a predator who was hurting people. That's not baggage. That's integrity. I tested someone I claimed to love. I lied for a year. You protected yourself. There's a difference between lying to hurt someone and lying to discover the truth. What Tessa did, what Vaughn did, that was real harm. What you did was self-preservation. We'd been sitting in her living room. She took my hand. I'm not going to lie to you or manipulate you, she said. I don't care how much money you have. I care about who you are. And if you ever doubt that, just ask me. Don't test me. Don't create elaborate scenarios. Just talk to me. I laughed. Deal. No more elaborate tests. Good. Because I'm a terrible actress and I'd probably see through it immediately anyway. We got married a year later. Small ceremony. Just close friends and family. Alex was my best man. Gabrielle came, bringing her new boyfriend, an accountant she'd met through her advocacy work. At the reception, Alex pulled me aside. Happy for you, man, he said. You deserve this. Thanks. And thank you for supporting me through everything with Tessa. I couldn't have done it without you. That's what partners do. Besides, it makes for a hell of a story. Maybe you should write a book about it. How I caught a con artist by pretending to be broke. I don't think anyone would believe it. Are you kidding? It's got everything. Betrayal, revenge, justice. People love that stuff. Maybe he was right. Maybe someday I'd write it all down, share the lessons I'd learned about trust and manipulation and standing up for yourself. But for now, I was content to just live my life. I'd learned that you can't control whether people will betray you. You can only control how you respond when they do. And I'd learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's simply refusing to let them destroy you. 4 years after the trial, I received an email from the restitution office. Tessa had made her final payment. Between her prison wages, her post-release job, and wage garnishment, she'd paid back the full $400,000. It had taken her 4 years, but she'd done it. Vaughn's restitution was still ongoing. He'd be making payments for the rest of his life. I donated Tessa's restitution money to Gabrielle's victim advocacy organization. Let it help other people who'd been targeted by predators, who needed support standing up for themselves. My company's second venture was more successful than the first. I'd learned from my mistakes, built a stronger team, focused on sustainable growth rather than quick exits. Within 3 years, we were profitable. Within 5, we were industry leaders. Rachel and I bought a house, not a mansion, just a comfortable home with a yard for the dog we'd adopted and room for the family we were planning to start. Life moved forward, as it always does. Sometimes I still think about that day in the cafe when Tessa tried to claim common law marriage rights, when I'd realized just how thoroughly I'd been played, when I'd had to choose between accepting the extortion or fighting back. I'm glad I fought back. Not because of the money, not even because of the justice. I fought back because I refused to be a victim, and in the end, that made all the difference. 5 years after the trial, I got an unexpected call. It was from Tessa. I know I'm not supposed to contact you, she said when I answered. The restraining order expired last month and I just wanted to call. I understand if you hang up. I didn't hang up. I was curious. What do you want, Tessa? Nothing. I don't want anything from you. I wanted you to know that I finished paying back the restitution. All of it. I know. I got the notification. Right. Of course you did. She paused. I also wanted to tell you that I'm engaged. Congratulations. His name is Owen. He's a teacher. He doesn't have much money, but he's kind and patient, and he knows everything about my past. I told him the whole story, what I did to you, the trial, everything, and he stayed. I'm happy for you. Are you? Really? I thought about it. Was I happy that Tessa had found someone? That she'd apparently changed? Yeah, I said finally. I am. What you did to me was terrible, but you paid for it, literally and figuratively. You did your time, you paid your restitution, and you're building a better life. That's all anyone can ask. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said. I know I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I'm not that person anymore. Prison, therapy, rebuilding my life from nothing, it changed me. I understand now how toxic I was, how much I hurt you. I appreciate that. Are you happy? You and Rachel, right? Yes, very happy. Good. You deserve to be happy. You always deserved better than what I gave you. We talked for a few more minutes, then said goodbye. I hung up feeling something I hadn't expected. Closure. Tessa had been terrible to me. She'd cheated, lied, and tried to extort me. But she'd also paid the price and apparently learned from it. She'd become someone better. And that was the best outcome any of us could hope for. Not revenge, not punishment, but actual change. I told Rachel about the call that evening. How do you feel? She asked. Weirdly okay. Like a chapter of my life that I thought would always be unfinished finally has an ending. A good ending? A realistic one. She's not the villain of my story anymore. She's just someone who made terrible choices and had to live with the consequences. Just like Vaughn's just a con artist serving his sentence. They're not larger than life anymore. They're just people who did bad things and got caught. Rachel kissed my forehead. You've come a long way from the guy who wanted to destroy his ex-fiancée. Yeah, well, destroying people is exhausting. Building things is more fun. And it was. I'd built a successful company, a happy marriage, a life I was proud of. I'd helped bring down a predator and prevented him from hurting others. I'd learned who I could trust and what I valued. The test I'd created, pretending to be broke, had been manipulative. I could admit that now. But it had also revealed a truth I needed to know. Not just about Tessa, but about myself. I'd learned I had the strength to fight back when someone tried to hurt me. I'd learned I could be strategic, patient, and resilient. I'd learned that justice sometimes takes time, but it's worth pursuing. Most importantly, I'd learned that the opposite of a bad relationship isn't revenge. It's a good relationship. One built on honesty, trust, and genuine connection. And I had that now. 10 years after the acquisition that started everything, I sat in my home office and reflected on how much had changed. The $8.3 million that had seemed so important back then had grown through smart investments. But more importantly, my life had grown. Rachel and I had 2 kids now, a daughter named Maya, age 5, and a son named Ethan, age 3. My company had gone public and was valued at over $200 million. I'd learned to lead with integrity, to build teams based on trust, to create value rather than just chase profit. Gabrielle's victim advocacy organization had grown too. She'd helped over 500 people navigate financial manipulation, domestic abuse, and relationship fraud. She'd become a national speaker on the topic, and her organization had influenced legislation in 3 states. Alex and I were still partners, still friends. He'd married a woman he met through a matchmaking service, after thoroughly vetting both her and the service. We laughed about our shared paranoia sometimes, but we both understood that caution wasn't paranoia when it came to protecting yourself. Vaughn had 7 more years on his sentence. He'd tried to appeal twice, both attempts denied. According to reports, he spent most of his time in the prison library, reading law books and writing appeals that went nowhere. Tessa had married Owen and was teaching dental hygiene at a community college. She'd written a book about her experience, not a tell-all, but an honest examination of how she'd rationalized her choices and what she'd learned. The proceeds went to restitution for Vaughn's other victims. We'd never be friends, but we'd both moved on. I closed my laptop and went downstairs. Rachel was in the kitchen, helping Maya with homework while Ethan built block towers on the floor. "Daddy!" Maya called out. "Mom says you used to test people's math by pretending you didn't know the answers. Is that true?" Rachel laughed. "I said he used to test people in general. Math is your interpretation." "It's true," I admitted, "but I don't do that anymore. I learned that testing people usually just creates problems. It's better to be honest and trust people until they give you a reason not to." "What if they lie?" Maya asked. "Then you learn from it and move forward. You can't control whether people will lie to you. You can only control how you respond." "That's boring," Maya declared. "I like tests. Like when I test if Ethan will cry when I take his toys." "That's not testing. That's being mean," Rachel said. But she was smiling. I sat down on the floor next to Ethan and helped him build his tower higher. This was what mattered. Not revenge, not proving I was right, not even justice, really. Just this. Family. Trust. Building something good from the wreckage of something bad. The money was nice. The successful company was satisfying. The sense of justice from the trial was important. But this, my daughter doing homework at the kitchen table, my son building towers, my wife laughing at our chaos, this was what I'd been fighting for all along. Not revenge, just the chance to build a life worth living. And I'd succeeded.